Okay, just a couple of logistical things before I get started. What you see here, this agenda page, is just for my presentation, my portion of the training, which is just the, pardon me, the eligibility requirements for the SBA Mentor Protege Program, some of the changes that have happened to the program in the last year, what the application process is, and then recommended next steps once you have your mentor protege agreement approved. So pardon me, and I do have a cold, so if I clear my throat, that's why. The second half of the training is what I'm most excited about. We actually have a panel of successful mentors and their proteges. So they have volunteered their time today to discuss just best practices for their mentor relationships, mentor protege relationships, and then how they're maintaining it, how they're working together. So please hang on for the second half so that you can get the perspective of an actual mentor and protege relationship. So if any of you have questions as I'm presenting, please just drop those questions into the chat. I'd be happy to answer them to the best of my ability. If I don't know the answer, I will try and get you the answer. So the presentation that I am conducting today is just on the benefits of the SBA Mentor Protege Program according to the SBA. What mentor qualifications are required, what protege qualifications are required, the application process for the program, and then again, recommendations after you get the mentor protege agreement in place. So the mentor protege agreement, I'm sorry, the SBA Mentor Protege Program isn't new. It's just, it used to only be available to 8A firms. And I can't remember exactly what year it was, but in about 2016, they changed it to the SBA All Small Mentor Protege Program, but still kept the 8A Mentor Protege Program. So with the All Small program, the SBA opened this program up to all small businesses. So not just 8A firms, but also service disabled, veteran owned, hubs owned, woman owned, and small business. And so what the Mentor Protege program is, or the Mentor Protege, it's based on a legally binding agreement. So it is designed to enhance the capabilities of protege firms by requiring approved mentors to provide business development assistance to protege firms. So the actual mentor protege agreement, we have templates for those at the SBA that we can send to you that you can take a look at. It's designed to be a business development program. And it has its roots in 8A because 8A is a business development program, but with the expansion to all small businesses, the hope is that mentor businesses will help to assist other small businesses, or in the case of mentors that are large businesses, provide key business development assistance in whatever industry you're in to protege firms so that they can build capacity and be able to successfully bid on federal contracts on their own. So within the mentor protege template that SBA has, SBA has outlined some of the types of assistance that mentors can provide to proteges. This is not the catch-all list. And in fact, I mean, this list is, these are our suggestions as you develop your relationship with your mentor. You may come up with additional things that you need assistance with, or your mentor might come up with additional things that they are willing to provide. So, but in general, the assistance includes guidance on internal business management systems, accounting, marketing, manufacturing, if you're a manufacturer, financial assistance in the form of equity investments, loans, bonding. I see that for construction mentor protege relationships a lot, is bonding assistance, because federal contracts often require high bonding levels, that if you are a smaller business, it can be hard to have an aggregate bond that covers the amount of bonding you need for all projects. Assistance in navigating federal contract bidding, acquisition, federal procurement process. So that would be, capture management. The SBA has a really great tool called, Bid Speed, that is available to all 8A firms, or I believe 7J. But if you're a small business that has been trying to navigate sam.gov to find contracting opportunities, that's one way to do it. As is working with your local PTAC, they can provide excellent training on how to find opportunities. But then in addition to that, if you have a potential mentor who is familiar with government contracting, they may also have strategies that they're willing to share with you. So also education about international trade, business development, including strategy and identifying contracting and partnership opportunities, general administrative assistance. I see that a lot, human resource sharing, or even business infrastructure development. There's so much that goes into not just winning a contract, but how do you prepare your business to win a contract? Because a lot of federal contracts are large dollar values. And if you have a smaller business or smaller capacity, how do you prepare yourself to scale up to be able to support larger contracts? So I first went into what are the current qualifications that you need to have in place in order to be a mentor, and then also what SBA would like to see a mentor provide to a protege. So these following slides are pulled straight from the regulations. So that would be 13 CFR, I think 125.9. But essentially, SBA is encouraging mentors to provide assistance relating to the performance of contracts set-asides reserved for small business, so that protege firms are more able to fully develop their capabilities. Now, I've had a lot of businesses that say, well, why would I need a mentor if I'm in the 8A program? Because the 8A program is supposed to provide small business assistance. Well, the 8A program, my role as a business opportunity specialist is to make sure that you are aware of small business resources like PTAC, like the Small Business Development Center, to educate you about opportunities like joint venture agreements or mentor protege agreements. But the SBA doesn't have access to contracts. The SBA doesn't issue the contracts. Federal agencies issue contracts. And even if you're in the 8A program, it is up to the business to market themselves to federal agencies to discover, what 8A contracts are out there, or just any contracts in general. And working with a mentor that has experience in federal government can assist proteges not only with developing their capabilities, but also how do you find opportunities? Because when you first get started, being able to compete on federal work is difficult because you're up against firms that are more seasoned than you, that may have more experience than you. Does that mean that you won't get a contract? No, it doesn't. But you need to realize that you may end up needing more assistance than you anticipated. So, okay, yeah, there's the citation. So 13 CFR 125.9. I like to just very briefly touch on 13 CFR regulations versus the FAR. So the CFR stands for the Code of Federal Regulations, and that is the governing body of all of SBA's programs. Like 13 CFR is SBA's programs, and then there's part 124, which is 8A, 125, which is mentor protege. Then the other set-aside programs also have different subparts. And SBA is responsible for updating the regulations as Congress tells them to do. So on the other hand is the FAR, the Federal Acquisition Regulation, that rules all of the federal contracting regulations, essentially. And sometimes the FAR and the CFR don't agree with each other. So if you come across a contracting issue that is small business related or certification related, like certification meaning 8A, Mentor Protégé, Hub Zone, those are SBA programs, and the CFR takes precedence. So I pulled this, I put the citation in this slide so that if you're super excited after you're done listening to me, you can go to ecfr.gov and plug these in and look at them yourself. Okay. So the SBA also inside of the CFR says that a mentor to the SBA is any concern that demonstrates a commitment and ability to assist small business concerns. If you have that ability, you may act as a mentor and receive benefits as set forth in this section. So this includes other than small businesses. Now, some of the criteria, let's see, I need to get this section here removed. Can't see my full slide. Hang on just a minute. That's better. So the rules have changed in terms of how mentors can qualify to be a mentor in the SBA Mentor Protege Program. So in order to qualify as a mentor, a concern must demonstrate that it's capable of carrying out its responsibilities to assist protege firms under the proposed mentor protege agreement. So essentially what that means, when you and your potential protege are hashing out your mentor protege agreement, make sure that you agree with each other at that time, and that both of you agree to certain timelines, certain assistance. Like, you just stick with what you put in the mentor protege agreement. Also, as a mentor, you cannot appear on the federal list of debarred or suspended contractors. And you can also impart value to a protege firm to lessons learned and practical experience gained through knowledge of general business operations. So it truly is business development. Pardon me. SBA has the ability to decline a mentor protege application if it's determined that the mentor does not possess good financial character, or I'm sorry, does not possess good character. That would be along the lines of, are you debarred? If your company is debarred from federal contracts, that's really not a good sign. You have to have a favorable financial position. Are you operating at a profit? I mean, if you're not operating at a profit, or your profits are minimal, can you help support or provide business development to a new or emerging company that wants to do business with the government? Also, if you employ or otherwise control the managers of the protege, you cannot be a mentor to that protege. Once approved, SBA may terminate the mentor protege agreement if the mentor does not, again, possess good character. If down the road, once your mentor protege agreement is approved and we find out that you don't possess good character, pardon me, if that's changed since you got the mentor protege agreement approved, SBA reserves the rights to terminate the agreement. Or if the mentor was affiliated with the protege at the time of application, or is affiliated with the protege for reasons other than the mentor protege agreement. I mean, one of the things that you're asked when you submit your application through Certify is if you are affiliates of each other. So I'm not going into a lot about affiliation during this presentation, but if you had questions about it, just shoot me an email. I'll do my best to answer them. Just keep in mind, mentors can have more than one protege at a time. So, and proteges can have more than one mentor at a time. But here's the caveat. You have to demonstrate that if you have more than one protege, you have to demonstrate that your new protege, your new mentor-protege relationship does not adversely affect the development of the other protege firm. And also one of the things the SBA likes to see is that your second mentor-protege agreement is under a different NAICS code or is in a different geographical region, because I'm going to get into the benefits of the mentor-protege program to the mentor shortly. But essentially, you want to make sure that your second mentor-protege agreement doesn't compete with the business development of your first mentor-protege agreement. This is very important, and it's, you know, this is pretty self-explanatory. I've not come across a single company in all these years that thought that they could do this, but a mentor that has more than one protege cannot submit competing offers in response to a solicitation for specific procurement through separate joint ventures with different proteges. I mean, that's you. So essentially, you can't have a mentor-protege agreement with protege 1 and then a mentor-protege agreement with protege 2, and then use those two. I'm sorry, joint venture is what I'm thinking of. You can't have two separate joint ventures bidding on the same contract. So keep that in mind. You don't want to use you can't use any joint venture agreements that you have with different proteges on the same requirement. And in general, a mentor cannot have more than 3 proteges at one time. Okay. However, the first 2 mentor-protege relationships approved by SBA between a specific mentor and small business that has a principal office located in Puerto Rico do not count against a limit of 3 proteges. I have no idea how that got decided, but it's interesting anyway. And I pulled that from the regulations. So does anyone have any mentor questions at this point? No mentor questions. Okay. So all of the eligibility or the technical parts of mentor protege, like when you are submitting your application, that's done through SBA certified portal. Excuse me. So you have to set up an account and certify. But if you would like for me to send you mentor protege templates, I would be more than happy to do that. And one of the things I forgot to mention is this is a timely presentation because this is right before the Ohio Business Matchmaker. So one of the things that I get asked as a business opportunity specialist at the SBA is, do you know of any mentors that I could reach out to? SBA is not a matchmaking entity in this relationship. So what SBA does is work to create events like networking events, training events where mentors and proteges or businesses can come together, talk together, see if there's synergies, and then talk about a possible mentor-protege relationship. So the Ohio Business Matchmaker this year is in person at the Nutter Center in Dayton in a little less than a month. So July 13th and 14th, no, July 12th and 13th. So this is a great opportunity for you to go out and network with your colleagues. Oh, okay, and that's timely. I just looked at the questions. What's the best way to find mentor companies? Thank you, Jessica, for that question. And that is my recommendation as a government employee. You know, go to those networking events. Our panelists might have other suggestions for you in terms of how to find the right mentor or how to find the right protege. So it'll be interesting to hear their take on it as well. So let's switch hats on how do you qualify as a protege. Now, in some cases, a protege can be a mentor. So I've worked with firms that are both a protege in a mentor-protege agreement and a mentor in a mentor-protege agreement. So it can work both ways. Okay. So in order to be a protege, a concern must qualify as small for the size standard corresponding to its primary NAICS code, or identify that it's seeking business development assistance with respect to a secondary, pardon me, secondary NAICS code. I've had a firm that is working on a mentor protege agreement under a secondary NAICS code. If you are applying under a secondary NAICS code for a mentor protege agreement, you have to be very clear to the SBA that you are currently receiving contracts under that code. So it doesn't have to be government contracts, but you have to look at the work description under that NAICS code and make sure it matches with, say, you're doing commercial work under a particular code. If you can match that commercial work to the NAICS code, SBA can count that as working under that secondary NAICS code. So if you have questions about that, you can also let me know. Oh, that's a busy slide, isn't it? Okay. So a firm may self-certify that it qualifies as small for its primary or identified secondary NAICS code, and that's standard. So when you, as a business, decide you want to do business with the government, one of the first things that you do is register in the System for Award Management, or SAM. So when you register as SAM, you are required, pardon me, to put your 5-year average revenues and your number of employees. So it is an honor system at that point. It's a self-certification. So if your 5-year average revenues, and that's your gross receipts, not your net receipts, your gross receipts, if it comes up that you are small under your primary NAICS code, then SBA says, okay, you're small. So the only time that will be questioned is if your size is protested as a part of a proposal submission. So where a small business concern seeks to qualify as a protege in a secondary NAICS code, okay, the concern must demonstrate how the mentor-protege relationship will help it further develop or expand its current capabilities in that secondary NAICS code. And that's done through your mentor-protege agreement. So when you are sitting with your mentor and you, as the protege, are assessing what your needs are in that secondary code, whether you need to, you're seeking additional work, say you're primarily a call center type of business and you want to expand more into IT. So you're going from like the more of the call center, that's not a good example, like a 541-611, which is administrative. I think that might be, and you're wanting to expand more into 541-511. You would have to demonstrate some work that you've had. And 541-511, by the way, are the IT codes. So it's one of the IT codes. How are you expanding into that? You can't not have any work under that NAICS code. You have to have some. So, oh, okay, and it does say that. Okay, so SBA will not approve a mentor-protege relationship in a secondary NAICS code in which the small business concern has no prior experience. So again, it doesn't mean federal experience. You just have to explain to the SBA. So if you have, you've done IT service work, but for the state government, or you've done it for a large corporation, you just have to explain how that work falls under the NAICS code, your secondary NAICS code. So hopefully that clears it up. Okay, a protege firm may generally have only one mentor at a time, but SBA may approve a second mentor for a particular protege firm where the second relationship will not compete or otherwise conflict with pardon me, otherwise conflict with the first mentor-protege relationship. And the second relationship pertains to an unrelated NAICS code. And the protege firm seeking to acquire a specific expertise that the first mentor does not possess. Actually, I have a firm right now that's in 2 mentor-protege relationships. Things have changed for us at the district office in that we used to approve 8A mentor-protege relationships. So when we were approving 8A mentor-protege relationships, I had the opportunity to do a deep dive into the actual application and see the assessment, the needs assessment of the protege, and how the mentor would be assisting the protege, that whole thing. Now, all of the mentor protege applications are handled at headquarters through the certified platform. So I often don't get to see them at all. I mean, I just find out that the mentor protege relationship is approved. And then if it's an 8A company, I'll ask them for a copy of it, of their mentor protege agreement, so that I can see it. But they are approved at the headquarters level now. Okay, the SBA may authorize a small business to be both a protege and a mentor at the same time, as I mentioned, where the small business can demonstrate that the second relationship will not compete or otherwise conflict with the first mentor-protege relationship. Now, there's one thing that I left off here that is really, really important for proteges. A protege can only have 2 mentor-protege agreements for life. So you have to be very careful and strategic about who you decide to enter into a mentor protege relationship with. So there have been regulation changes around that, where you can form a mentor protege agreement with a mentor, and if it doesn't work out within the first 18 months of the relationship, you can tell SBA and request to terminate the relationship, and that won't count against the 2 for life. But you need to be aware of that. So you can only have 2 for life. But if within the first 18 months, you discover that this relationship is not panning out the way you thought it would, as long as you get the termination request to SBA, within that first 18 months, it doesn't count against the 2 for life, okay? Now, what are the benefits? The benefits to the mentor protege relationship, it's the business development benefit. It's the being able to work with a potential mentor or protege to transfer the best practices and to subcontract with each other. But the biggest benefit, I would say, to both the mentor and the protege is that a protege and mentor may joint venture as a small business for any government prime contract, subcontract, or sale, provided the protege qualifies as small for the procurement or sale. Such a joint venture may seek any type of small business contract. For example, small business set aside, 8A, hub zone, service disabled veteran, or woman owned, for which the protege firm qualifies. So say the protege firm is a woman-owned, they could seek woman-owned set-asides as a joint venture. And you know, if they're a woman-owned 8A hub zone, then that joint venture can seek 8A woman-owned hub zone contracts. Similarly, a joint venture between a protege and mentor may seek a subcontract as a hub zone small business, small disadvantaged business, service table veteran owned, and so forth. It's just whatever that protege firm is qualified for. So here's where things get a little tricky, because I don't think that SBA does a good enough job communicating the fact that once that you cannot bid on contracts with an approved mentor protege agreement. So the mentor protege agreement is an agreement. It's not a business. So you have to have a business in order to bid on a contract. So what you need to do, if you and your mentor or you and your protege are in the process of forming a mentor protege relationship, you also can start forming your joint venture together, because the joint venture is a business. It's a separate legal entity. You would set it up so that your protege owns the joint venture 51% for the reasons that are outlined on this slide, and realize it takes a bit of time. So as you're forming your mentor protege relationship, it often is a good use of your time to start the process of forming the joint venture agreement. And if you are a protege and you are other than a small business, you have to have the mentor protege agreement in place in order to form the joint venture. Or, you know, you can form the joint venture, but you need to have it in place in order to bid on contracts. I see a question. Could the mentor be a sub to the protege? Yes, they can, but they don't have the same protection in a prime sub relationship than you do with a joint venture agreement. So a joint venture agreement holds all parties to the joint venture liable on the contract. So you're all equal partners. If it's a prime sub relationship, the government has a relationship with the prime contractor, not with the subs. So if something goes wrong with that contract, it's the prime contractor that the government is just making sure that things get right with. And the same, and when it's a joint venture agreement, it's the joint venture agreement itself that wins the contract. So that's kind of the difference between like having a joint venture agreement or a teaming agreement. And in the case of a teaming agreement, the SBA doesn't review them at all. The SBA has no involvement with teaming agreements. And now SBA has a much smaller relationship with joint venture agreements. We used to have to approve all 8A joint ventures, just 8A. We didn't have to approve woman-owned, hubs-owned, or service-disabled veteran-owned. Then last year, there was a regulation change where the SBA no longer approves joint venture agreements for 8A competitive contracts. We only approve or review joint venture agreements for 8A sole source contracts. So that is a change. But this is not a joint venture agreement training. I just want to make sure that everyone understands that if you have an SBA approved mentor protege agreement, you still have to form a joint venture agreement in order to bid on contracts. Okay, so additional benefit, SBA must approve the mentor protege agreement before the two firms may submit an offer as a joint venture on a particular government prime contract or subcontract. Now, it is taking a little bit longer. I'm sure that's going to be one of the questions. How long does it take to get the SBA to approve these? Now, it's 90 days within the receipt of a complete package. You know, that's what the regulations say. A complete package means that the request for additional documentation period has passed. So say, for example, you submit your application to SBA and SBA says, okay, protege firm, you still have to give me this, this, and this. So your time hasn't started yet because you haven't given them a complete package. It's once SBA says, okay, I have everything I need. That's when the 90 days begins. And it'll be very tempting, and I'll try my best. A lot of firms will contact the district office for us to get a status update on your mentor protege application. We don't have access to the same system that headquarters has with the mentor protege agreement evaluation process. So I can work to get an answer for you, but sometimes it can be a little bit frustrating on everyone's part to get an answer. Okay. So again, when a mentor and protege form a mentor protege agreement, there is an exclusion from affiliation. And I put the citation there. It's CFR 13 CFR 125.8 if you wanted to look at how SBA defines affiliation there. Just kind of driving home what I've already mentioned, a joint venture between a protege and its mentor will qualify as a small business for any procurement for which the protege individually qualifies as small. Once a protege firm no longer qualifies as a small business for the size standard corresponding to the NAICS code under which the SBA approved its mentor protege relationship. Any joint venture between the protege and its mentor will no longer be able to seek additional contracts or subcontracts. Okay, a joint venture between a protege and its mentor could seek additional contract opportunities and NAICS codes having a size standard for which the protege continues to qualify as small. So it's on a NAICS code by NAICS code basis. And also another important note is if, say, for example, a mentor and protege form a joint venture agreement, and they're awarded a multiple award schedule contract, like an IDIQ, whether it's GSA 8A Stars 3 or CIO SP4 or any of the large IDIQ contracts. As long as that joint venture agreement and the parties to the JV were small at the time of submission of initial offers, they're still qualified to receive task orders for the life of that contract. Now, 8A Stars 3 is operating a little bit differently now. That once an 8A firm graduates, they are no longer eligible for 8A sole source under Stars 3. But essentially, you have to be in good standing at the time of initial offer, including price. So if you end up not being small down the road on an IDIQ, you can still receive task orders. Okay, accept contracts. So look at that. See, I'm right ahead. I'm like one slide ahead of my presentation. Except for contracts with durations of more than 5 years, including options. Okay, so there is a timeline on that. That's why I was thinking, let me make sure I'm right about that. A contract awarded to a joint venture between a protege and mentor as a small business continues to qualify as an award to small business for the life of that contract, and the joint venture remains obligated to continue performance on that contract. So again, that duration of more than 5 years is the key there. For contracts with durations of more than 5 years, including options, where the size recertification is required no more than 120 days prior to the end of the 5th year of the contract and no more than 120 days prior to exercising any option thereafter. Once the protege no longer qualifies as small for the size standard corresponding to the NAICS code, the JV will not be able to recertify itself to be a small business. So these are important rules to remember as your mentor or your protege, as you continue to grow together and win contracts together and separately. So those are the contractual benefits. So what are the non-contractual benefits? So this one for us at the SBA is a little bit difficult, and you know, it's nothing. It's in order to raise capital, the protege firm may agree to sell or otherwise convey to the mentor an equity interest up to 40%. Okay, so if you're in the 8A program, if you sell up to 40% interest in your company, that is a change of ownership. So there are rules that surround the process of doing a change of ownership while in the 8A program. So if you intend to enter into a mentor protege agreement and you intend to sell up to 40% of equity in your company to your mentor, one of the first people you should tell is your business opportunity specialist, because changes of ownership are a very major thing while in the 8A program. And they're time consuming, and the more that your business opportunity specialist can get ahead of that with you, the better. Because if you end up doing an equity sale without letting your business opportunity specialist know when you're in the 8A program, you could be suspended from the benefits of the 8A program until the SBA has a chance to review that new structure and approve it. So a takeaway, if you're in the 8A program and you want to do this, talk to your business opportunity specialist. Let them know that you're intending to do that. So notwithstanding a mentor protege relationship, a protege may qualify for other assistance as a small business. Okay, that was an interesting one. Excuse me. Including SBA financial assistance. I promise you, I don't have COVID. I took an at-home test. I just have the remnants of too much vacation fun. No determination of affiliation or control may be found between a protege firm and its mentor based solely on the mentor protege agreement or any assistance provided pursuant to the agreement. However, affiliation may be found for other reasons. I love regulations. Okay. Any questions about the benefits of the program or what it means to be a protege? Just put them in the chat for me. Now we're going to switch on to how do you do this. So, let's just go ahead and have a scenario where you've gone to a networking event and you as a mentor have found the perfect protege firm, or you as a protege have found the perfect mentor firm. What do you do now? Okay. It is a legally binding document, like your mentor protege agreement. It's a legally binding document. So one of the first things you can do is you can contact your business opportunity specialist for the template, or you can also go to the certified.gov website, the SBA, and it's not SBA.gov. That won't take you to the certified portal. You have to go to certified.sba.gov, and there's a section on there where you just click mentor protege, and then you'll see all the things you need to do to apply. You will have to set up an account if you're not currently in the system as an 8A company or woman-owned small business company. So it is a written agreement. So the mentor and protege must enter a written agreement setting forth an assessment of the protege's needs and providing a detailed description and timeline. Okay, timeline is important. I've seen more mentor protege agreements get denied because there's no timeline. Like, you have to put, I don't care if you're meeting weekly, quarterly, weekly, monthly, quarterly, biannually, you have to put when you're going to meet with each other. And it provides a more solid agreement if you identify who you're meeting with within your protege firm and within your mentor firm. So as a mentor, a lot of times you may have a higher staff percentage. So who within your staff is going to be meeting with this mentor firm? I'm sorry, this protege firm, and how often? And how are you meeting? Are you meeting like teleconference? Are you meeting in person? And when you're meeting, what are you discussing that has to do with the mentor protege agreement? So I'm imagining your discussions should center around the needs of your protege. So if, for example, one of the things that has been discussed and detailed in the mentor protege agreement is that the mentor is going to provide assistance with human resources, or updating the employee handbook, or putting together job descriptions, or whatever goes along with human resources business. Just put on on the third Tuesday of every month, we will be meeting to discuss X. That shows the SBA, okay, this mentor and this protege are really, really intentional about this. And you can put also, these meetings will start at the date of approval of the mentor protege agreement. So at the date of approval of mentor protege agreement, mentor and protege will meet every second Tuesday for 2 hours via conference call. And the intent is to discuss this and this and this. So don't spend time putting it together, because the people on the other end reviewing your application can tell if you did or not. So be intentional in your responses. So again, it's a written agreement. All right, I think I pretty much covered that. Specifically identify the business development assistance to be provided and address how the assistance will help the protege enhance its growth. I mean, yeah, yes. Details. Establish a single point of contact in the mentor concern. One of the first mentor protege agreements I ever approved. I mean, we can even do mentoring between the mentor and the protege. That's something that we can do. And that's really just to let the mentor and the protege know what SBA's goals are for the relationship, that it's business development in nature, that it isn't just, forming the joint venture agreement. That's not the only purpose of this program. So, but then also during that conversation that we can have as a just a mentor to the mentor protege is we want this to be a good business relationship where you enjoy working together. And so once it's approved by SBA, the protege will have to fill out a survey on an annual basis, letting SBA know that the mentor is providing the assistance or not. And the mentor can also let the SBA know if the relationship isn't working. So the relationship can be severed by the protege, by the mentor, or by the SBA at any time. A firm seeking SBA's approval to be a protege must identify any other mentor-protege relationships it has through any other federal agencies. So other federal agencies also have mentor-protege agreements. Just because you have one with another federal agency, that does not count against your 2 for life with the SBA. So SBA just wants to know about any other mentor-protege agreements you have. A firm seeking SBA's approval to be a protege may terminate a mentor-protege relationship it has through another agency and not use any of the yet provided assistance identified in the other mentor-protege agreement as part of the assistance that will be provided through the small business mentor-protege agreement. That one's a little bit choppy there. But essentially, my takeaway, you have to let SBA know if you have any other mentor-protege relationships with any other federal agencies. So once you have come together and you have worked on your mentor-protege agreement, and there is something that I've seen more often recently is when firms ask me to, because I'll look at it. Firms will ask me to review their mentor-protege agreement. If it comes from the mentor and it clearly looks as though it was written by the mentor, I just wonder how much buy-in the protege actually had in it. This should be something that both parties to the relationship are working on equally. So I understand the appeal of especially proteges out there. Okay, mentor, you can do all of this for me. No, that is not the point. Both of you need to be equally involved. And when the application is submitted to SBA, I don't believe there's a requirement that it has to be the protege that submits it. But if you are, as a protege, if you are handing the reins over to your mentor just to form the mentor-protege agreement, what is it going to be like when you're in the joint venture agreement? So you need to make sure you're looking at the limitations on subcontracting rules and that you are in it to build capacity, not just rely too much on a mentor, okay? That's my 2 cents. So the agreement will not be approved if SBA determines that the assistance to be provided is not sufficient to promote any real developmental gains to the protege. I would say the most often, before headquarters took it over with Certify, the reason that the pardon me, the most common reason for denial is not having enough details. I mean, put those timelines in, put the assistance in, let SBA know what type of relationship and what assistance and what type of business development needs are being addressed through that relationship. Okay. There must be a section in there that either the protege or the mentor may terminate the agreement within 30 days advance notice. So essentially what that means, if, okay, protege, you decide, I don't want to be in a relationship with you anymore, mentor. So what you have to do is put something in writing, date it, say, what is today? June 29th. So you would send that as of today, mentor, I don't want to be in a relationship with you anymore. Make sure you have a copy of the letter or the email that you send to that mentor. And then you can tell the SBA that you have let your mentor know that you're no longer interested in this relationship, and then SBA can terminate the relationship. So to fall within that 18-month rule, you need to have made a decision before 18 months that you don't want to continue the relationship. So Keep that in mind. Okay. The term of a mentor-protege agreement may not exceed 6 years. If an initial mentor-protege agreement is less than 6 years, it may be extended by mutual agreement prior to the expiration date for an additional amount of time that would total no more than 6 years from its inception. So for example, if the initial mentor-protege agreement was for 2 years, it could be extended for an additional 4 years by consent of the two parties. If the initial mentor-protege agreement was for 3 years, it could be extended for an additional 3 years by consent of the two parties. And unless rescinded in writing as a result of an SBA review, the mentor-protege relationship will automatically renew. And I'm emphasizing that because that's a regulation change. So when the district offices were approving 8A mentor-protege agreements, the 8A would have to submit an evaluation on an annual basis to their business opportunity specialist for approval. So that has changed. Okay, a protege may generally have a total of 2 mentor-protege agreements with different mentors. Okay, that's what I was talking about. So I did get that slide in there. Each mentor-protege agreement may last for no more than 6 years. And then if a mentor-protege agreement is terminated within 18 months from the date SBA approved the agreement, that mentor-protege relationship will generally not count as, generally not count as one of the 2 mentor-protege relationships that a small business may enter into as a protege. However, where a specific small business protege appears to enter into many short-term mentor-protege relationships as a means of extending its program eligibility as a protege, SBA may determine that the business concerned has exhausted its participation in the mentor-protege program. So I have never come across a business that has tried to do that, but that's there for a reason. Okay. So regarding program maintenance, so I believe, and so our panelists may be able to talk about this more, I believe you get a survey through Certify on an annual basis about how the mentor-protege relationship is going. So I think that evaluation of the mentor-protege relationship, if SBA determines that a mentor has not provided the business development assistance set forth in its mentor-protege agreement, or that the quality of the assistance provided was not satisfactory. And before SBA wouldn't unilaterally make that decision. It's more if the protege reaches out to us and says, look, this really is not working, then SBA might do some mediation, and try and get the parties to talk to each other about whatever the issue is. SBA must approve all changes to a mentor-protege agreement in advance, and any changes made to the agreement must be provided in writing. So that would be through Certify. If once your mentor-protege agreement is approved, do you have any changes to make to it? That would be done through Certify. If control of the mentor changes, the previously approved mentor-protege relationship may continue, provided that after the change in control, the mentor expresses in writing to SBA that it acknowledges the mentor-protege agreement and certifies it will continue to abide by its terms. And again, SBA may terminate the mentor-protege agreement at any time if it determines that the protege is not benefiting from the relationship or that the parties are not complying with any term or condition of the mentor-protege agreement. Again, SBA wouldn't do that unilaterally. They would reach out to the mentor and the protege to discuss it and to provide mediation if necessary. If SBA declines the mentor-protege application, they will issue a written decision setting forth the reasons for the decline. The small business concern cannot attempt to enter into another mentor-protege relationship with the same mentor for a period of 60 days. So in 60 days, you can reapply with the same mentor. Or you can identify another mentor and apply before the 60 days. So I mentioned, you know, I believe the SBA sends out a survey through Certify to all approved SBA Mentor Protege agreements. So SBA reviews the evaluations annually. So the protege will have to provide an assessment of how the mentor protege agreement is working, whether or not the protege received the agreed upon business development assistance, and whether the protege would recommend the mentor to be a mentee to other small businesses in the future. At any point in the mentor protege relationship where the protege believes that a mentor has not provided the business development assistance, they can ask an SBA to intervene on its behalf. Okay, other considerations. That took so much longer than I thought I was going to. Okay, so firms cannot obtain a federal contract with the SBA. I'm sorry, firms cannot obtain a federal contract with an SBA approved mentor protege agreement alone. They have to form a joint venture agreement. I mentioned that before. SBA doesn't match mentor firms with protege firms. Before you apply, make sure both businesses are registered in SAM. Decide whether you're applying for a mentor protege agreement using your primary or secondary NAICS codes. Both businesses must complete SBA's online tutorial, everyone's favorite thing. I think it takes about an hour. Application processing time frame is currently 15 days screening plus 90 days processing, totaling 105 days. So this just talks about the consolidation about the two programs. I see 2 questions in the chat. I'm sorry, I went into fast forward. Thank you, Teresa. Okay. They sent an email with a link to SurveyMonkey, and Teresa is one of the panelists. So thank you for mentioning that. Very, very good. So I said, I think that you get like a current mentor protege recipients, they get like in a survey to fill out every year. It looks like they do. Okay. Now that I'll stop mumbling here. And Shonda, are you on?
Yes, I am here.
All right, I am going to turn it over to you. I'm going to turn off my camera and stop sharing my video.
Okay. Thank you, Jill. Let me turn on my camera. Put on my glasses.
I see your name.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you. Thank you, Jill. I know that was a lot, and I know you had issues. You were coughing. I was like,
I'm so sorry, everybody. That's embarrassing. But you know what? It's just,
and it's a lot. Usually with the regulations and everything, it's just like, oh, will it end?
Aren't you glad I'm teleworking today, everybody?
Yes, in our new setup, I sit right next to Jill. So.
Oh yes, she and I breathe the same air.
Yes. Again, thank you, Jill. That was a lot. And we're going to transition. What a great way to kind of start off. Good afternoon. My name is Shonda Harris. I'm a BOS with the Columbus District Office. I work with Jill. I'm the other BOS in the district, and we help to work with 8A firms. And now I'll get a chance to facilitate our wonderful panel. And if we can have, well, we'll do it, I guess, one by one. But today's panel is going to be a mentor protege panel discussion. So we are grateful in the district. We have several firms that are in approved mentor protege relationships, and they're going to share their stories today. So we actually have 2 firms, actually have 3 firms that are in approved mentor protege relationships. 2 of them, both the mentor and protege, are here. One, we just have the mentor because they're relatively new in their relationship. So they're going to talk about their journey. So we'll kind of kick off with that. And we will have Barb Smith, who's the president of Journey Steel, to about 8 minutes. If that's enough, Barb, if you want to talk about your relationship. Again, Barb Smith, who's the president of Journey Steel. She'll talk a little bit about her company, but share just about her journey, Journey Steel, and she's going to talk about her journey in finding a mentor. She's gone through a couple winding paths and a few years, so we're just going to allow her to talk about her journey, and then we'll go to the other relationships. So Barb, let me stop my screen.
Okay, I did start mine. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay, great. And I won't take long. Thank you, Shonda and Jill, for allowing me to be on here. I am the partnerless part of the Mentor Protege, and we're a protege. And as Shonda has said, I'm here to share my journey, pun intended. So I am the president of Journey Steel, and we are a self-performing steel fabrication and erection company headquartered in Cincinnati, Ohio, in 2009. And we are built, I have a business partner, so we have a combined experience of 60 years in the industry. So it's my 35 years of construction experience that I wanted to start with the journey today. So in 1988, I began my career with William Cargill Contractors in Cincinnati. And at that time, Cargill was one of the largest, or the largest, minority contractor in the city. Smoot was the big boy in Cleveland, and both these minority contracting pillars were aided in their growth because of their 8A certification and them having a mentor. So when my business partner and I started Journey in 2009, 8A was on our radar. Journey established itself as a reputable, experienced, dependable contractor in the industry. So in 2013, it was time to grow to the next level with the help of the federal government. So I started our 8A application. And for the sake of time, I will just fast forward to us getting certified in 2015 and leave out the details of why it took 2 years for that process. So I met Jill in 2015 for the beginning of Journey's journey to exponential growth, right? That was wrong. I still remember sitting down at the table with Jill, who thoroughly went over everything as she did in the presentation today, letting me know the ins and the outs of the programs, et cetera, et cetera. And now the meeting was winding down, and I asked Jill, where's my list of mentors? Who are we gonna be paired with? Because 25 years ago, when I was at Cargill, this was how the program worked. 8A was the golden goose, the ticket to success. I saw it work for Cargill, so I knew the process, and this is how it was gonna work. Well, not so anymore. Jill politely told me that it was up to us to find our own mentor. They no longer were allowed to assign, recommend, or provide mentors. I was like, what? What do you mean?
That's
So
a
needless
bummer.
to say, I still love you, Jill. But so needless to say, I walked out of that office not as excited as I walked in, but still excited. We were certified and still had that golden ticket. So finding our mentor was not going to be a huge deal. Wrong again. Oh my goodness, trying to make cold calls to get to the right people within a firm was a nightmare. Utilizing the governmental databases for identifying contractors already doing work with the government was a full-time job. And once again, who do you really talk to? We talked with third-party companies that know how to maneuver the databases and get help to get you work. Sounded like a viable option. So $3,000 to $10,000 later, still nothing. The 8 years of growth was being wasted. Year 5, when hope was being lost, we finally found a mentor. How, you ask? The grace of God. Now, I know we're supposed to have separation of church and state, but when it comes to finding a mentor in the federal program, I suggest you do a lot of praying. In 2020, we found Vasquez Commercial Contracting out of Kansas City, Missouri. We met them through the Minority Business Accelerator here in Cincinnati, Ohio, which part of the accelerator's mission is to attract and maintain minority business in the Cincinnati area. So Vasquez was a contractor. The accelerator was courting to come to Cincinnati, and I was one of the firms invited to that meeting to tell them how great Cincinnati truly is. And lo and behold, during that meeting, we found out that they were a former 8A contractor who had recently graduated and was doing mentoring. And so now The rest is now history, but of course, COVID then blew up. So the process, needless to say, was still not smooth as we had hoped, but we finally have a mentor. So one of the questions asked during Jill's presentation is, how do you find a mentor? I can tell you how not to find a mentor. Don't follow my journey. So thank you, Shonda, and I'll turn it back over to you.
Oh, Barb, I love it was short, sweet, to the point. Thank you so much. Great point I wanted to bring out that you shared, that she had worked with an 8A company years back. And during that time, back in the 80s, 90s, it was a part of the program where if you got in as an 8A firm, you were assigned as a mentor. And so a lot of times, I just want to bring that up, you may hear information from someone. You may hear information from someone that was previously in the 8A program, and they did a wonderful job. And they say, hey, this is how it was when I was in the program, when I started, but things have changed. So you do want to make sure that you have updated information as you could just, Jill, you're unmuted.
Oh, okay, sorry.
As Jill just so eloquently went through her presentation, and with the regulations, things change constantly. So make sure that you're up to date with all of the information. So great job, Barb. Next, we will hear from, we have Raul Sierra, who's the president and CEO of SearTech, which is an 8A firm, that's the Protege. And then we will hear from Andrea Kunk, who's the president of Peerless Technology Corporation, who is the mentor. And so, Raul, if you want to say, give us an overview about who you are and kind of how you got started.
Sure. As Shonda just mentioned, Raul Sierra from SearTech out of Beaver Creek, Ohio, just a couple of miles, less than a mile away from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Personally been in the area since 1994 and in defense contracting since 1996.
Raul, can you share your one pager if you can put that on the screen while you're talking?
Yeah, I thought you were putting those up. Okay, give me a second.
I can, if you need me to, I can.
I got it.
Okay.
Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Anyhow, work for quite a few years as a contractor on base, supporting the Air Force. I actually worked for two other successful 8A companies in the area. Through networking, I met Peerless, I think back in 2003, 2004, long time ago. Actually, I remember getting basketball tickets from Michael Bridges, who's the founder of Peerless. And that's how I met Andrea. Gosh, almost 20 years ago, I guess. Got started in the 8A program in 2014 with SearTech. And as you can see from the map, we've grown quite a bit in that time. Over 250 employees in 12 states. And we started the Mentor Protégé relationship and a joint venture with Peerless in 2016. And we've had quite a bit of success, especially here lately with the GSA Oasis, small business pools, 1-3, 1-8A, and 3-8A, and also as a service disabled veteran-owned company. My experience with the program was more about networking in the area. We're fortunate enough that we have a lot of firms here, a lot of work. I believe somebody told me about 75% of the Air Force budget, maybe more, is managed out of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. So there's never a shortage of things to do and things to go after. My suggestion in terms of finding the right mentor it's almost like dating. Like, just go slow, make sure that you go out on a few dates and make sure that you're compatible. I know a lot of firms here. I was lucky enough that Peerless was available to provide mentorship at the time that, soon after I got the 8A, where I didn't have to wait, 8 years into the program to do so. Anyhow, that's kind of my brief introduction to you guys about CRTech and our experience with the Mentor Protégé and JV programs.
Thank you, Raul. And just great takeaways again, how he was able to meet his mentor, networking, the importance of networking. Also, he said, like dating, making sure you go out on a few dates to ensure that there's compatibility. So thank you, Raul. And then we will hand it over to Andrea. So if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and your company, and then kind of share what steps you did to find your protege, what steps you took to find your protege. And also share your screen, and you're on mute. There you go.
All right. Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Hang on.
There we go. Yes, looks great.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you all for having us here today. And again, Peerless Technologies, we are the mentor to the mentor protege relationship with CRTech. We together also have a joint venture, the CRTech Peerless joint venture. Peerless specifically, we are headquartered, we're neighbors to Raul, so we are headquartered very closely right across the street from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. As a company, we have about 540 employees at 27 locations nationwide at different Air Force bases, Navy bases, and then also NASA centers. So we really have 5 key areas of support that I put up on our slide. We do a lot of really an engineering firm, and have some certifications and a nice array of contracts vehicles. But for us, we've again had a lot of success, as Raul said, with our mentor protege and our joint venture relationship. We enjoy being a mentor. In the 22 years we've had as a company, we've learned a lot. We've gone down a lot of different paths, and we're happy to be able to share some of those lessons learned, and then also learn from our protege as well. And I think it's really important for us as a mentor, as we look at companies to work with, teaming partners in general, but our protege in specific, to find companies that you are compatible with and that you have complementary capabilities with. Because I think if you're doing the exact same thing, there's not necessarily a lot of synergy to be achieved. Or if you're doing really different things, then it's hard to find ways to come together and take those capabilities into more robust solutions. But if you each do something complementary and you can bring together those capabilities, that past performance, the relationships that you have in a synergistic way, you can really be larger than the sum of your parts as you're looking to go after opportunities. And I think one of the lessons learned for us from the relationship is it really is give and take. And I heard a different teaming partner said this recently that I told him I was going to steal, which is viewing the relationship as transformational instead of transactional. So like Raul said to dating, sort of like a relationship. Some days one partner is going to be doing a little bit more. Some days a different partner is going to be doing a little bit more. But if you're both focused on the long term and where you're trying to go and how you're going to get there big picture, and I think working together really to transform both your companies and grow together, and not just a one-time deal or a one opportunity teaming arrangement, but really looking holistically at how can we partner, how can we work together to grow both of our companies, because that really is the goal that we're trying to achieve here. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. I love that. Give and take scenario, and then looking at it as a transformational and not transactional relationship. Love that. And it's more than just dating. That's kind of like marriage. And then you both companies growing together instead of, okay, what can you do for me, or just one partner looking to get something out of it, but more of a win-win situation. So I love that. Love that. Thank you so much, Andrea. Our next protege is Miss Teresa McAlaloy, the CEO and FSO of McAlogic. So protege, if we want to hear from Miss Teresa, if you want to share your screen.
Oh, heavens to Betsy. Okay, let me see if I can figure out how to share my screen. I think I can. And hello, Shonda. All right.
And if not, I can, there you go. I see it. Yes.
Look at that. It's like magic. Okay, so there's a bunch of things about McAlogic, and you can read those, and or you can always email me and ask me more, and I will tell you specifically. Let me talk to you about our mentor-protege relationship. We were in the 8A program for several years before we reached out to Quantech, whom we had partnered with, both with them as a prime and us as a prime in the past. So to Raul and Andrea's point of, you know, it's not really, it's dating at the nth degree, it's basically marriage. We had dated them quite a bit. As a matter of fact, we had gone on a couple vacations with them. And so by the time we decided to approach them and ask them to mentor us, we knew each other pretty well at multiple levels across the company. And I can tell you that as a protege to Quantech, I would say that one of the key things for our success, and I think that we've been a successful partnership, is communication. And that, again, is at all levels. So Quantech is owned by a guy named Jim Monopoly, and Jim meets with me just one-on-one every other week. He and I spend about a half hour together talking, and it really is like having somebody, and Bob Paradiso, do not tell Jim I said this, but it's like having like your older brother or your dad really just guiding you and giving you advice. So I can go to him for anything that's business related and just different approaches. But our mentor-protege relationship has allowed us to look at things that we never would have looked at because they were too large, or because they were in an area that we didn't necessarily have capability in. I did not consider a mentor-protege relationship before that because, frankly, I didn't know another company that I was comfortable getting into bed with. I know that's a colloquial term, but that really is what you're doing, because we really are so closely discussing things that are going on. There is a huge amount of trust between our companies. I can give you a very specific example. We have an open position that we're trying to fill. We've been trying to fill it for longer than we want to be trying to fill it. And my HR folks met with Quantech's HR folks to say, hey, here are all the things that we've done and how we're approaching this. Do you have any other thoughts? And so it was nice to be able to go to your mentor for something other than, you know, they're not just coming to us for our socioeconomic status. We're not going to them because they've got bigger contracts. It's also running the business and managing and handling the business that has made the mentor-protege relationship extremely valuable for us. We have a joint venture as well, and we are, bidding work together under our joint venture, but that also doesn't preclude us from bidding in prime sub relationships, which we currently maintain with one another. So, Shonda, was I supposed to answer some questions or just kind of chat? Because you know me, I love to chat.
I think we'll just give them an appetizer right now from everybody. Then I'll bring up the questions and we can dive more into the main course.
Perfect. Okay,
that was perfect.
I'm gonna do the stop share. Thank you.
Thank you. So just some takeaways I got from Teresa, just you hear again about the dating and that relationships. I love that she took it a little further, that not only had they dated a little bit, but they went on vacations. So of course you get a chance to know people much better when you go on vacations and spending more time. So there's different levels that you want to try to get to know your mentor protege partner. And then I love that building trust, kind of like a family relationship, older brother, dad, getting advice from. But I think the most important thing out of this is really finding the best fit for you. So I'm just trying to moderate and bring out some key points. Actually, Teresa's mentor, Mr. Robert Paradiso, who is the Vice President of Quantech Services. And I think if you don't mind, can I call you Bob?
Absolutely.
Okay, Bob, if you want to go ahead and share
Will do.
your screen and then let us know kind of what steps you took to find MacLogic as your protege and share some kind of tips also.
You can see the screen?
Not yet.
Not yet. Hold on one second. How's that, better?
No, still not.
That's weird. Let me get a share screen. Right here.
There.
Okay, here we go. Let's get this up.
Yeah, that's your email though.
Yep, I know. We're gonna get there.
Okay, okay.
Pull it over. Sorry about that. There we go. Better?
No, still your email. I saw it come up at the bottom, but you didn't. I don't know if you selected it.
Let me see here, one second.
Let me see if I can pull it up.
It's not
Hey,
going-
Bob, is it on two different screens? Did
Let
you
me
say
see if I
It
can
is.
pull it up.
Yeah, it is. I'll pull it over.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Okay, because I was going to say I can pull it up.
And FYI, MacLogic is the IT part of this relationship, so Bob shouldn't have to know how to do this nonsense. Shame on me for not having helped out to start with. Sorry, Bob. See, I should have been thinking, I should have had your presentation on my screen.
You know what? I can share it.
Oh, we got you. We got you.
There we go. All right,
job,
there we
Bob.
go.
Who's sharing me or?
Can you see it now?
Yeah, that's
Yes.
Bob's.
Okay, great. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Bob Paradiso with Quantex Services. Our corporate office is located in right outside of Boston in Lexington, Massachusetts. You can see the service offerings we have and where our facilities are and where our coverage is across the United States. We're primarily a cost estimating and business analytics type of company, doing a lot of program office and high-level cost estimates for Department of Defense, Air Force, space systems, and in the intelligence community. A lot has been said relative to the joint ventures and the Mentor Protege program, and I echo a lot of the statements that have already been made. It's really, truly a relationship that we have created here with Teresa and her team in MacLogic to develop Innovate Now. We've had some really good times, and we're going to have even better times as we move forward. But bringing us together, working our business development models, working certified accounting systems, helping out with the pipeline work, stage reviews. The biggest component, and Teresa talked about this, is communication and trust. We have a weekly joint venture meeting. Our teams get together on a weekly basis. Teresa and Jim talk every other week, and we bring our teams together to come out to the best possible place that we can be. As a mentor, we're gonna mentor, but we need to listen because Teresa's a very smart woman and she's taught us a lot. So a mentor protege should be a mentor-mentor agreement, because it's really living lessons and learning lessons from both sides, and in understanding that. We've our first big venture when we got the Mentor Protege and joint venture certified is we went off and we captured the Oasis pools and pool 1 and pool 3 8A associated, and we're in the midst of bidding a lot of work now as Oasis pool members, and that is a long-term contract that we'll have, and we'll execute that as much as possible over the course of time. The other things that we have done together is like Teresa said, is working with our HR team jointly together, working with our security teams, and you talk about financial stability and what goes on in the government side with the financial stability, and I think we've also brought a lot of that from the Quantex side to help MacLogic side and the joint venture to come up with, make sure that we have the appropriate credit lines, and in showing the government that we're financially responsible across the board to execute large system contracts for the U.S. government. So that's a little teaser for you, Shonda, and I'll stand by to answer any questions anybody would have. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Love that. Bob brought out, of course, again, that as you've heard from everyone, and sometimes different from a different perspective, it's truly about developing relationships. And I think you could hear that from every single person that shared their experience. But I love that just kind of on the essence or the foundation of his relationship with MacaLogic. And I would say with any mentor-protege relationship is communication and trust. But I love that the mentor-mentor perspective. It's important, even though they are the mentor in the relationship, they recognize that they could learn from the protege. So I love that, looking at that. Now, just because we're just down to 30 minutes, if everybody, you can put on your cameras, the mentor-protege, the mentors and the proteges, and then we'll start off with questions. And then if we'll just, whoever wants to jump in and answer it first, then kind of go around, everybody take about a minute or so. But what are some of the best practices that you want to share that help you to maintain the positive relationships? And it sounds like, everyone has a very positive, healthy relationship with their mentor, with their protege. So what are some of the best practices that you want to share, some of the key things that you do to ensure that that relationship stays in a healthy place and it remains positive, where it's win-win for both the mentor and the protege?
Weekly meetings.
Love that, weekly meetings.
We're talking to each other all the time. Yep.
Yeah, in our stage review process, bid, no bids, that's a joint decision between Teresa and Jim. We have a large staff of business development folks across the United States, whether it be in Huntsville or out in the West Coast or in Washington, D.C., that are capture folks, right? Business development guys, capture managers that bring opportunities forward to us. And we have a process. Quantec had a process. We've used that process with MacaLogic, and it's those stage reviews and the charts for standardized charts that are brought forward. And that's a great practice, because Teresa gets to have insight into what Quantec is doing, what we're all about. But when we bring opportunities forward, they both have a say in the matter on how we're going to go after this, how we're going to structure it. We get concurrence on who our partners are going to be for that effort. Teresa has brought partners forward that we should consider. We've brought partners to her. In fact, just today, one of her folks called me on a prime contract that they want to go after, and we're going to introduce it to one of our strategic partners that we know to help Teresa go off and win that prime contract work on the MacaLogic side. So I think that's really what a great mentor protege, or really joint venture, is working together and licking our wounds, having a few laughs and arguments and cocktails along the way, but just understanding what went on. And we went through, I think, a big highlight with our joint venture, that we really did help the small business community with a GAO protest that we won. And Teresa was all part of that on the protest, and the SBA sided with our argument.
So now I know how to do that. How terrible.
What's that?
I know how to do a protest, but I'm looking at Raul, and I thought for sure when you said that we have cocktails together, that Raul will at least smile at that. Raul, come on, smile.
Let me, for the sake of time, great point, Teresa, about the weekly meetings to help maintain that healthy relationship. And I think, Bob, the takeaway I got from you is that everybody has buy-in, both the mentor and the protege coming to the meetings. It's not just the mentor saying, hey, we're going to do this, but the protege is able to voice their concerns and you guys come to an agreement, but everybody has buy-in.
Right.
Love that. Raul will allow you to share.
So we have the same experience with the meetings and so on, but also, from both ends, the investment that we put into the whole thing. I mean, we were very thin initially, and Andrea can attest to this, in terms of our management, from a headquarters perspective. We're very good about running our programs, but then once we jumped into this whole Mentor Protege, we had to invest as well.
Yeah,
to improve our staff and our processes to be able to support the joint venture that we created. And we've kind of planned that early on. But of course, you kind of want to win something before you keep on, so it's one of those things, but it definitely takes an investment, not only just a time commitment, but actually an investment, in terms of personnel and those kinds of things, to be able to support, what we're trying to do here with the joint venture. And I think, once we started getting some of this, because we were really intentional about the type of contracts that we were going after. We weren't just going after smaller opportunities. We wanted to capture some of these, GSA Oasis schedules. We also got one with this Anchor 3. We're trying to get to those because that's where we thought, or with the synergy would come between the two companies. From PureTech's experience and from the things that Peerless had already done. And but yeah, the investment is key. I've heard of some proteges that are not that way. They're just just beyond the the way to success without having to do anything. That's not the goal of and also the reinvesting, once you start being successful.
Continue. No, great points. So the investment. So if you don't have a partner, if you're a protege looking for a mentor and you don't have, a partner, if you're a mentor looking for a protege and somebody that's willing to invest on the same level, where I will put it in modern language, you got to have skin in the game.
Right.
And everybody has to be kind of equal, that synergy level. But I love that Raul said, not only is it an investment, and it's a healthy investment, but reinvestment. So if you can't find someone that matches your level of investment and your level of what you've invested and put in and have the same amount of skin in the game, you may want to continue looking. I'm going to bring up something. I'm going to let Andrea speak, and then I'm going to bring up just a little clarification, because I don't want to take for granted that everyone knows what joint ventures are, and just kind of explain a little bit of difference between a mentor protege agreement and a joint venture. But Andrea, if you want to share kind of what best practices or keys that you think it takes to maintain a positive business relationship with the protege.
Sure. Thanks, Shonda. And I completely agree with everyone else's points. And really, I think to build upon just the communication and not being afraid to have open and honest conversations. And it's really easy to be great partners when things are going swimmingly and you're winning and you're not having operational problems and you're staffing and everything's going great. But when you start running into problems or issues, just being able to pick up the phone and have those conversations and just say, hey, this is what's going on. How can we work together to fix this? And I think Peerless and SearTech do a good job. Raul and I think we've each called each other multiple times to say, hey, this is what's going on. How can we work together to fix this? And just putting it out there and then working as partners to figure out what the best solution is. And sometimes it's not obvious, and sometimes the best solution isn't optimal. But once you've identified what the problem is, then you can just work together to try and navigate that to the best that you can. But if you're not having those conversations and you're not just being open and honest about what's going on or what challenges you're facing, then you're not going to be able to solve those problems.
Love that. Not being afraid of being open and honest and having that open dialogue and communications, because it's not always going to be sunshine and flowers and the sun is going to be out. Sometimes it's going to be rainy days. It's going to be cloudy. And there could be some sticky situations. So are you willing to be open and honest and share things, both parties? And so looking for that relationship, I think that's wonderful. Real quickly, I want to bring up, I don't want to take for granted, I think everyone mentioned, and every one of the proteges is in a joint venture relationship with their mentor. So just briefly to distinguish it, the mentor-protege relationship and the overview that Jill gave is more of a business development relationship where you're essentially getting that relationship, you're setting it up and saying the mentor is outlining, okay, this is what we're going to do to help our protege. Here's, we're going to show them how to put together a proposal. They may give an infusion of cash, but they're basically outlining, okay, here are the capabilities. Here's what we're going to do to assist the protege, and that's spelled out in a mentor-protege relationship. So it just came to me, that's kind of like the dating, and kind of like maybe once you have a mentor-protege agreement, it's kind of like an engagement. And then when you go to the joint venture is actually a marriage. The joint venture is actually the marriage between two companies where they come together, they form a new entity. It has its own UEI, has its own bank account, its own name. And the joint venture, that marriage relationship, the beauty of it is that it can take on the past performance of both parties. And a lot of times as proteges, especially our 8A firms, may not have past performance. So the joint venture entity becomes a vehicle that can take on the past performance from the mentor. And then they can pursue contracts with that joint venture. So just to clarify that real quick. All right, the next question is, what recommendations would you share with everyone as to what not to do in our mentor-protege relationships? What recommendations, what you would share, what not to do? And I don't know if Andrea, Bob, I don't know if Andrea,
don't try to control. Again, it gets back to the communication and aspect of things, right? Just because you're the mentor, you don't know everything, and you would be very surprised how little you really do know when you open up and you start talking about things. So I would say just because you're the mentor, don't think you can control the relationship. It's that's number one. And number two, I think you just reach for the stars all the time and go after things. And that's what we're trying to do here. So it's hard to say what you wouldn't want to do, because you kind of live those lessons on a daily basis as you're working forward, working together, but reach for the stars and don't try to control the situation.
Love that. You just gave the recap. I love that. Reach for the stars, don't try to control. And I'm sure that could be hard. So if somebody's in a relationship with a mentor and they're trying to control, that may be a red flag. Thank you, Bob. Raul, it looks like you're unmuted and you're ready to.
Yeah, it's a balance, right? I mean, on the one hand, you don't want to control. On the other hand, you don't want to just, like I was saying earlier, be one of these proteges that don't want to, carry their own weight. That often happens. The other thing is, now as we are kind of, moving into more of a, mentor ourselves with other firms, at least in our experience, us and Peerless, we were a lot closer at, going through the whole process to the smallest of the small, right? So we were a lot more in tune with some of the newest regulations, how things are, because that's your responsibility as a protege, I think, as a mentor also, but you're trying to, you're trying to get to where your mentor is.
Right.
So you as a protege to make sure that you are, with this, I mean, in the last 3 years, look at all the things that have changed in the program itself, from the district office approving things to the all small being the approver now. And also a lot of these certifications that you can use now, clearances and, these sort of things that when we started, it would be probably a lot easier, going back when we started our relationship. But I think, the proteges need to really pay attention how things change and how they apply to the mentor protege and the joint venture side of things. So I guess what I suggest that they won't do is not pay attention. That they need to pay attention. Changes. So.
Great points. Finding a balance, whereas you don't want the mentor you said to take control, but then as proteges, you want to make sure that the proteges are, you said, carrying their own weight. They have to bring something to the table, and make sure probably as a protege, you're always trying to grow, and at least it was your desire to you want to be where the mentor is. So you're always wanting to pay attention. You want to grow, making sure that you're aware of the things that are changing, because that could impact the relationship. It could impact some of the things that you want to do. So
pay
great.
attention to your company also,
Okay.
because
Pay attention to your company. Yes.
Your company as well, because what I see happening sometimes, you have a protege, they get into a joint venture, and then that's the only lifeline that they have.
That's true.
You still have to have your own identity. You still have, in our case, we still have a number of years in the 8A program. So there's a whole other side of things. I mean, obviously we're busy. I mean, if you look at if you attended one of our JV meetings on Tuesday at 11 a.m., I mean, you'll see how busy everybody is. But a lot of times, resources are limited too, but you have to take care of your protege of your company itself, in addition to taking care of your responsibilities as a joint venture.
Excellent point. And that sometimes can be hard. I know of some mentor protege relationships, and the protege, primarily the majority of the business is through the joint venture relationship. Yeah. And you do have to make sure that you maintain, as you said, your own identity, and you're looking for things, looking for projects, looking for contracts other than what you're doing through the joint venture, and making sure that you're growing. So definitely important. Andrea, I see you're ready to go, ready to chime in.
Sure, yeah. So really 2 points. One is don't make assumptions. So clearly communicate. Again, communication seems to be a real theme here, but clearly communicate with each other who's going to do what each party is bringing to the table, what the roles and responsibilities are, and just how you're going to work together. Because there's a lot of working together, because you have a whole company that you're jointly running. So how you're going to work together. And then the second I would say is don't be afraid to change course. We have been through different iterations of how we do business, how we review opportunities, how we contribute to proposals. And sometimes we found we were making more work for ourselves or doing things that just didn't need to be done. So we just stopped doing that. So don't be afraid to change. You don't have to keep doing things the same way. Keep looking to find more optimal ways to do business, because like Raul said, everybody's busy. And if you can grow into doing things more efficiently, then do that, and don't just keep doing it the same way you've been doing it.
Well, wonderful. I always love these panel discussions because you gain so much information from each of you. Excellent, excellent points. Don't make assumptions, clearly communicate, outline roles. Don't be afraid to change course. Maybe you've been used to doing things for a whole year and it worked really great for that first year. Now the second year, both parties have grown, the mentor and the protege. So it may be more efficient to do something a little different. Okay, somebody was saying, I thought they have to jump off to go on to another meeting. Thank you for joining us. And this is being recorded. So continually seek out ways to be more efficient and more effective at what you do, and find optimal ways that work best for both parties. Awesome. Miss Teresa, you didn't come off mute. I had to ask you.
You know what? Because I'm listening and I'm agreeing. I have to tell you, the one thing that I did not hear touched on was don't underestimate the value of humility and the importance of fun. One of the
Oh.
things from I know Andrea, I know Raul, and obviously I know Bob. I know that you guys love what you do. You love the client that you serve, you love the business that you have and the people that you work with. And, don't underestimate taking that back and forth with your mentor and just really enjoying one another's time, because you are, your work. I mean, Bob's whole team, they all know that I was in a dance competition, right? I know Bob just recently had another grandchild. You do those things with the guys who share the same badge as you. So when you're in a mentor-protege relationship, I think don't underestimate, the power of that personal relationship with your counterparts and with the folks you're dealing with, because you are hopefully going to be working on the jobs that you win together. So
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Life is fun. And now it's like having a whole bunch of cousins, right? Hanging out next door all the time.
I've never met a company that loves to go to Disney World so much than Macalogic.
We do.
And sharing the stories.
Bob, I tried to call Teresa for something. I needed some information to ask her to serve, and she's like, I'm at Disneyland or Disney World.
Yeah.
I'm thinking,
Weren't you just at Disney? Yes,
weren't
because
you
my
just
husband
there a
was.
couple
It's
months ago?
not just Teresa. The majority of her company, they're on I think they have the shuttle going back
That's
and
right.
forth.
We take checks, but I think it's important that when you're in a mentor-protege relationship, that you're not, just all business, because, the people that I feel comfortable calling, like, I'm calling Bob about something or texting Bob about something because I know Bob, and I know, he's going to talk to me in his car and he doesn't mind doing that kind of thing or whatever. Or I know when he's on vacation and I want to avoid calling him, but I know who to call at his company. So I guess that's, the humility of having that relationship that goes back and forth at the work level. Like I said, I know both Raul and Andrea. I know you guys are both family folk as well. And I know that you guys have got that, so when you get your mentor, when you get your protege, make sure that it's somebody that you're just going to want to chat with a lot. Right, Andrea? Right, Raul?
Well, I guess if you're in a marriage relationship, you can't imagine being in a marriage and not talking to your spouse.
That's right.
So I love that, Teresa, remaining humble. Don't underestimate the ability of remaining humble, having fun and enjoying, that relationship, the power of personal relationships. And it's not just all business. I think, as I heard everyone talk, if you're not at a position where you can have your mentor or protege on speed dial, you should have their cell phones. You should know, their spouses, something about their families, because it is a personal relationship. So intimate. Love that. Great feedback from everyone. It's like I want to put these notes in a book. I'm glad that we're recording this. Next question, I think we will do maybe for the proteges. If you want to share with the audience, what suggestions would you give to them if they are new, they have not been in a mentor-protege relationship? What would you recommend that they look for characteristics in a potential mentor? So Teresa.
Oh, I'm like chomping at the bit on this one. Culture.
and Raul.
Yeah, culture. If you are the kind of company that doesn't take vacations and doesn't mind working nights, weekends, and holidays, find a company who's got that same attitude. If you're a company who's a 9-to-5 company, find a 9-to-5 type company, because you are, you're moving in next door to your cousins. And if they're partying all night and you like to be in bed at 8 o'clock, it is not going to work out. So find a company with culture and the way they treat their folks. Quantec people, I know Jim treats his people like gold, and I know we try to do that with our folks as well. And after years of having teamed, again, prime sub relationships, I knew how they treated their people and they knew how I treated mine. And I knew how they billed and how they paid, and they knew the same thing for me. So know a company that isn't going to hold your invoice until the 29th and a half day. And so those are two things. How do they treat their people and how do they pay their bills?
How do they treat their people and how do they pay their bills? That's down to the wire. That's some intimate stuff. I love that. And not to say if Teresa, if somebody was a 9-to-5 company, that just may not be the best fit for you
Yeah.
if you are kind of weekends and work, but you
Right.
just really want to find the best fit for you and look at how they treat their people and how they pay their bills. I love that.
Absolutely.
Raul.
Yeah, and I agree with Teresa. You definitely have to be compatible, from a culture perspective, but also complementary, with your capabilities that we were saying earlier. We did a lot of things early on, CRTech by itself, with the hopes that the relationship would eventually, take off. Because like we had the joint venture and Mentor Protege, like I said, set up for a while until we found the right opportunities to go after. And I think as we start moving into this, different type of projects that we're doing now, also, we're able to transform the company. So and if you see the trajectory, of Peerless, they were doing a lot of the things that we were doing early, a lot of IT, a lot of, things only here at iPad. And eventually, I think that, if you just look at the NAICS codes of the contracts that we're getting more and more involved in, you see a definite, growth and progression there from our perspective as a protege. So you got to find complementary,
I love that.
You can't be doing exactly the same work, like I think you said earlier, but you can't be doing things so far apart.
Right.
There's not a common aspect to your companies,
So there should be some alignment.
Right.
So you're not polar opposites. Somebody's on one side of the spectrum and somebody's on the other. You're compatible but complementary to one another. And I like that, looking at the trajectory of the company, looking at, hey, some of their past performance. What have they done in the past? What are some of their NAICS, their core competencies? And looking at your own company and seeing, hey, are they somewhat similar?
Mm-hmm.
So great feedback. Now I want to flip that and with the mentors. So I love the point that Raul, even though he's a protege, he said, hey, we're on the verge of, we're looking at becoming a mentor. So mentors, what would you recommend to those companies like Raul, and maybe eventually, Teresa can mentor someone, companies that are on there, or they'll eventually get to the point. What would you recommend that they could look for in potential proteges, and looking for potential proteges? What would you recommend are some key characteristics that they look for? I see Andrea's looking and she's thinking. So
So no, I'm happy to jump in. So I think
4 minutes.
I think as mentors, for us, as we're looking for proteges, and even we're starting a little bit strategically to look down the road, because we're running out of our ability to go after new work with CRTech. Wow. So as we start to look strategically at what the next generation looks at, I think it's for those proteges. I think the advice for the protege is to really define what your differentiators are, because we want a company, just like we've been talking about, that we can be complementary with, like we are with CRTech. We don't just want it to be transactional to where we're only looking for a company that checks boxes on a socioeconomic form. We really want a company that can come alongside us and has some sort of differentiator, whether it's a capability that they have, a customer relationship, a technology. I mean, even the smallest companies generally have something that they really have to offer. So to those companies, really capitalizing on what that is, and then expressing that to potential partners of, hey, this is what I bring to the table, and this is how I can come alongside and bring something of value to you as you're mentoring me. And then I think also to those companies, understanding where your weaknesses are, or to turn it around, where opportunities for growth and advancement are, to say, hey, if I just had X, Y, and Z, then we could really do a lot more. And then finding that mentor company that can come alongside and offer that. And then again, you're back to where you're complementary, where the partnership is more than just the sum of the two companies, and you're able to capitalize on what each party is bringing to the table.
Awesome. Love that. Love that. Being strategic, looking down the road, defining as proteges, being able to define your core competencies and differentiators, and having not just your socioeconomic or your certification as the only thing that you can bring to the table and say, hey, this is what we have to offer, but is there a unique capability, a unique certification that you may have? And then also, where are potential opportunities for growth? I love that. So you may be doing something now, but there could be something down the road. And so just growing your business so that you'll be able to meet that opportunity. Thank you. Yes, Bob.
Yeah, I agree with Andrea, the complementary skill sets and complementary mappings. I think that's really important. As been in this business now for about 10 years, and we talk to many teaming partners, and we're always looking for that niche business. We're always looking for that business that might have that site or skill set that would complement our team. And we really look at, what's the barrier of entry in some of the projects that we're going after, and how do we get over the hurdle of that barrier of entry, and what type of companies can help us do that. And I think that's important on the mentor protege and on the joint venture side is looking for those companies that might have a niche technical side of them, that they don't do cost estimating work, but they do a niche modeling and simulation type work that would benefit from the two of us getting together, things of that nature. So not competing skills, complementary skills. And then also, more importantly, when you look for a company, what is their roadmap, and where do they want to go? Where do they want to be? And does that fit in with our planning and road mapping for the 5 years or 3 years out? So.
Wonderful. Let me turn back on my camera. Thank you, Bob. Yeah, looking for complementary skill sets, not just complementary, but yes, complementary, not just competing skill sets, but complementary. And is there a niche technical skill that they can bring to that relationship? Wonderful. I know we're getting down to the wire. We may go over just a few minutes. I think I will ask this question and then we'll wrap up. But what are some for the mentors, if there were some mistakes maybe that you made along the way, and now you being in a mentor protege relationships, what mistakes kind of help you to grow and help make you a better mentor partner? Are there a couple of mistakes maybe that you did early on, and now you could say, you know what, if we would have known this, several years ago, we would have been, this would have turned out, but I can share that information with my protege. So are there some, a couple of mistakes maybe that you made along the way that made you a better mentor today? So Andrea and Bob.
I'll start off, Andrea. It's our business is always contracting, and it can be expanding. You could win a contract and it'd be worth $450 million, and you live in life large, and then a recompete comes up, and the next thing you know, you're down 300 people on your business space. So I think just that contracting and expanding of our systems, of how we do HR, how we do accounting, we've learned a lot. We've been through some not difficult times, but the ebb and flow of federal procurement and the low price technically acceptable, those 4 letters that we always hate in our services side, as Andrea's smiling. We've all lived there, and it's you don't make the profit margins that you're willing to make. And so I think the contraction and expansion of your business base is one, and more importantly, I think it's diversification. And you need to be able to diversify your portfolio. your pipeline, and even diversify your business, and maybe look into the commercial side of things, because diversification is very important to sustain your business. And I think that's a lesson learned that we've done. We've gone and we have diversified ourselves with purchasing companies, purchasing contracts, and brought those lessons forward to Teresa. I know Jim and Teresa have probably talked about both the diversification and the contraction of employees when you lose a contract and you now have to lay off 100 employees to a competitor, or we won a big contract and you got to build up your systems to execute that project.
Yeah, I love that. Love that. Contracting and expanding your business, diversification of your portfolio, and pipeline to sustain your business. Andrea, yes.
Yes, certainly. We've made a lot of mistakes over the last 22 years, and we're happy to share some of those lessons learned with our partner. So I think the first is just really on kind of the business operations, tools and processes. You know, we've been through a lot of how do we do HR? How do we structure the company? What accounting system do we use? Who do we have and what different organizations, and how do we have them working together? How do we do business development? What's our process? Shipley based? Is it, you know, how do we do all of those things? So I think taking the lessons learned and the different paths we've gone down and sharing them with our partner as we're looking at really forming joint processes, and then as they may be looking for advice as well as they're growing and setting up new business processes or getting security, different certifications and things like that, just offering the lessons that we've learned as we've been down that path. And then I think as well, just working together and focusing on really clearly defining where we want to go. And I think we as a company have gotten better at that over the years of looking more at objectives and saying, where are we today and how are we going to get there? Instead of, sometimes it's easy to get caught up in just focusing on activity instead of focusing on results, and really trying to focus on results and then doing that together as a joint venture. And like Raul said earlier, there's some things that we say no to because it doesn't make sense for us to go after it, and the opportunity costs of pursuing something are greater than we want to bear. So we have those discussions and make those trade-offs. And I think that's a maturity level that we've gotten to as a company. And then Sierra Tech is also, you know, coming alongside us as well and having those same conversations.
Wonderful, wonderful. Clearly defining where you want to go, activities and results, and sharing those lessons learned. I'm going to throw something out for the proteges, and then we'll do just kind of a wrap up of your last 2 minutes, words of advice, words of wisdom you want to share. Thank you, Andrea. But to the proteges, what, let's just say that you've successfully completed your mentor-protege relationship, or you can talk about today because you've been in the relationship for a little bit. What kind of are the most important discoveries or lessons learned thus far as a protege that have been really instrumental in kind of taking your business to the next level, maybe that have grown your business, you've expanded and added another core competency that you never thought about, or what are maybe one or two important business discoveries, lessons learned that you've gotten so far as a protege?
Our mentor really has helped us with things like how to submit a provisional rates package to DCAA, so things like that. We had not done an HTRO, the thing where you score, and they showed us it's the highest technically rated offerer, where the government gives you a set of sheets and then you have to just prove all your assertions. They helped us learn how to do the proof on that and work through that. Jim is the owner of Quantech, has been so generous in, like I said, taking me under his wing and kind of talking to me how he does his budgeting from inception to approval. And it's not, gee, I think we'll spend $50 on this. It is very much considered and strategic. And so he helped me learn to use my budget process as a strategic process. And so that was a huge help from a mentoring perspective. I mean, they've been amazing, awesome, phenomenal mentors.
That can be huge.
Yep.
Budgeting process and being strategic in that. Thank you, Teresa and Raul.
Yeah, I think from a lessons learned perspective, we, besides the everyday operations and relationship that we have and running the contracts that we currently have with our mentor, in the human resources area, in terms of recruiting folks, for our corporate support, Peerless has been instrumental in terms of helping us identify resources that either they know about or they've had experience working with that have really helped us. It's one of those things, right? If you're going to be in a relationship and you already know somebody, at least you know what there's the learning curve of these some of these folks that come on board was reduced greatly, I think, especially the group of people that works, specifically on joint venture things. They're led by someone who was already a known person, to Peerless, and even though she had never worked for Peerless, but people in Peerless already knew her, and that helped a lot, to really set the stage, for success here in the last couple of years.
Great, wonderful, thank you. So learning HR, recruiting, identifying resources, and really shortening your learning curve, which as a protege, that could be tremendous and huge, especially if you're going after some of these larger contract vehicles. Well, we are at 3:07, so we are going to just kind of wrap up and just kind of your last parting words, best practices, keys, advice that you want to share with everyone on here. And if everybody can take maybe 2 minutes, if you want to share whatever you want to, parting words that you want to give to those that may be on the webinar today.
I mine are really easy and quick if I can go. If you're the protege, keep track of everything, because you're going to have to report it at the end of the year, including things like how many minutes of help did you get on XYZ. So track your meetings, track your support that you get, and track the bids that you do together. You're obviously doing the things you do on your own, but if you go into this as a protege, you are responsible for reporting this, your relationship forward. So get that information early, and get really lucky and have a great mentor like we did. That's the other piece of advice. Have a great one.
Thank you for sharing that, because they will need to keep track of that. So for their annual review, because we will need that information, and we will track you down to get it, Jill and I. So please keep track of all that early on, and make sure you keep of that, your minutes, your time, your bids, and getting everything early, and having a system where you can record it on a regular ongoing basis continually, so you don't have to backtrack and get it all. And if you take adherence to all of the tips that we've given throughout this whole hour, I think they will find, hopefully they will find. And as Barb said, definitely praying. All right, Teresa, who wants to go next? Raul, it looks like you're
especially for the protege, take your time and select.
Take your time, yeah.
You only get 2 chances.
Yeah.
And it's a great opportunity. But you must have the right partner. So take your time.
So important, just dating a couple times, going out a couple dates, and having a couple dating partners, not just exclusively. And maybe, when you get to the point where you think it can be exclusive, but you should have a couple of dating partners, is what you're saying.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I love that. Take your time. Don't rush into it. Because yes, and what he said, you only have 2 opportunities. So as a protege, you only have 2 opportunities to be a protege. in the lifetime of your business. So you want to make sure that you get it right and are taking advantage of it. And sometimes what I recommend with my firms is if they get into the first relationship early on or midway on, maybe toward the end of their 8A journey, they may want to look at getting into another relationship with someone that futuristically, I think Andrea was saying, looking down the road, where is the business going to be going? Like the, who was it? The hockey player, he said that, I don't play where the puck is, I play to where it's going, Wayne Gretzky. So awesome. Thank you so much, Raul, Robert, and it looks like Andrea, you're off mute. Yes.
Yes, I think just as a mentor to be committed to the relationship, because it is a lot of work and it's good work, but you want to be a good mentor. And back to my opening comments, you don't want it to just be transactional. Sometimes we'll have companies come to us and they just want to use our past performance, or it's this kind of one time of, we really want to go after this one contract. And if you would just come to this relationship with us, then we could go get this one contract. Well, it's not really about just one contract. It's about a whole relationship and a strategy in growing together. So to close with where I opened, don't just view it transactionally, but really look strategically at the whole relationship and be committed, and know as a mentor, even if you could write the justification for why you could do all these different relationships at the same time, really you can probably only manage a couple of proteges well at the same time, because you need to be willing to put in the work and the time into those relationships and then really try to grow and see success out of them.
Wonderful. Awesome. Be committed. Look for a relationship, not just, okay, we're going to go out on one date. Let's go to this one restaurant and we're just in it for this. Look to be transformational, not transactional. Be strategic. Awesome. Thank you so much, Andrea. And Bob, if you want to close us out, this has been really good.
Have fun with it. Have fun with it.
I love that.
You're in a relationship, and you're really selecting. I mean, Teresa's my work wife. She's the only one that calls me in the car on the way home, right? If I see Teresa, I'm going to pick it up. So it's you got to have fun with it, and you're going to work hard. You're going to have disagreements, and you're going to come out the other side, both better companies, and you're going to have great agreements. And you selected a company for who they are and what they represent. And Teresa selected us. We selected MacLogic, and you have fun with it.
And I unmuted so that I could say one of the things that Bob and I both work on, and actually it's across our teams, with Jim too, always assume the best from the people that you're working with. So when we disagree, assume his highest intentions. So a lot of times when we are having something where it's a little bit different, we will say, we all want to win, or we all want this to work. We're just looking at it differently. So we always try to assume the best of one another.
I mean, we've been in the middle of a proposal 2 weeks into it, and we're like, we're not going to get there. It's outside. It's too big of a hurdle to get through, and we talk about it and we shut it down. And people invest 2-3 weeks of hard time on it, and from a leadership, we kind of like, we're just not going to get there with this one. Let it go.
Honesty.
Let it go.
Yeah.
Let it go.
Thank
love
you.
that.
Thank you.
No, thank you. What a great way to end. And all the hard work and the commitment. Have fun. Have fun. But definitely you want to partner. You're on the same page. You're heading in the same direction. Everybody wants to win. Everybody wants it to work. But I love that Teresa also chimed in, assume the best. So I think you've received, what a phenomenal panel. You received excellent feedback from every single person. Thank you so much, Raul, Teresa, Bob, Andrea, and Barb. They shared some really great information, tools, best practices that hopefully will help you as a small business. If you're looking to become a protege, or if you're looking to at some point become a mentor, this link will be available. We'll put it, I think Sharon had to leave, but hopefully it's in the chat. You can go to the Ohio Business Matchmaker website, and Jill, is Jill still on? She is, yes.
I'm here.
Oh, she's hanging on. She's hanging in.
It was a great panel. I just,
Wasn't that?
yes, it was.
Hi.
Thank you, everybody.
Yes.
I enjoyed that.
So-
It's always
so they
great to
can-
see when the relationships are working the way that was intended.
Yeah, yes, and not the other way. Not the other way around. Yes, if you want a copy of this, it is being recorded. The link will be posted on the Ohio Business Matchmaker website, as well as the Ohio University PTAC. And Jill's slides will also be posted there. So we'll post this. This is definitely one I will refer people. Both Jill and I work with 8A firms. And then when I meet with companies that are interested in the 8A program or just government contracting, I refer to different webinars that we do, but this is definitely one for the books that I will recommend. So thank you everybody for joining. Jill, do you want to share anything about the Ohio Business Matchmaker to make sure people are signed up and registered? And
It is just around the corner. I believe it's our 16th or 17th year. So the last 2 years we've had it virtual, which was great. The first year, the second year, it was there's just a lot that's lost when the event is virtual. So having it back in person is really exciting. It'll be on July 13th and 14th, I believe. I keep getting those two. It's either 12th or 13th and 13th and 14th. It's that week. It's the
13th and 14th.
Okay, thank you. It's the, and you can go to www.ohiobusinessmatchmaker.com. And we have been actively reminding our federal agencies to register. All of them have given thank you, Teresa. You're the best. They've been giving verbal commitments. No, you're all the best, but you're just always on top of it in terms of.
Oh, I see. I was like, where?
Yeah, so
Sharon is not here.
We always have a large representation from the Air Force, National Guard, EPA, DLA, DOE, and then state agencies have large representation, as well as cities. So any of you that are interested in just finding out about different levels of government, this is a great opportunity for you. And we will be there. I will actually be there in person. I'm looking forward to it. I will not be sick by then, hopefully. I shouldn't be. If I am, then maybe I shouldn't come. I'll just give everyone that peace of mind.
Yes. Well, I think this is it. This has been a phenomenal panel.
All right. Yes.
Phenomenal time. Thank you everybody for your time participating. Hope every one of our panelists also gained something from this. Barb, hopefully you were able to gain some things. And Andrea, Robert, Teresa, Raul. This was wonderful.
Thank you, Shonda. Nice job.
Thank you. Happy 4th.
Yes, hopefully everybody can join us for the matchmaker. You know what, while we're on here, has anybody, I think I've already asked Teresa, Raul, have you done any business with the Navy?
I have one contract that the contracting office is with the Navy, but the work is with the Air Force.
Okay, I'll touch base with you. The Navy is having an event coming up.
Okay.
And so I just happened to think about that so I said, let me ask. All right. I think that is it. I've already asked Teresa and I've already asked Barb that.